West Africa has just entered a new era because in Guinea-Bissau, the unthinkable has happened. The president says he's been detained, the military has taken control, and the world is scrambling for answers. But beneath the chaos lies a deeper truth, one tied to foreign interference, rising Pan-African unity, and a silent geopolitical war now exploding into daylight. This isn't just a crisis. This is the spark of a continental revolution one foreign powers never expected. Stay tuned.
A military coup has been confirmed in Guinea-Bissau after senior officers appeared on live television declaring full control of the country. Brigadier General Denis Nkanha announced the closure of borders, suspension of elections, and the shutdown of all state institutions.
Representing the senior leadership of the different branches of the armed forces, the High Military Command for the Restoration of the National Security and Public Order has today assumed full powers of the State of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau. Deeply committed to the values of national security, civil peace, the defense of territorial integrity, and the independence of Guinea-Bissau, the High Military
Les événements semblent s'accélérer donc en Guinée-Bissau. Première salve à midi, le président Mbalo annonce avoir été arrêté dans son bureau, dans le palais présidentiel. Deuxième salve, il y a quelques minutes, puisque des militaires viennent de prendre la parole. Ils affirment avoir pris le contrôle du pays jusqu'à nouvel ordre.
O alto comando militar para a restauração de segurança nacional e ordem pública acaba de assumir.
Dawn broke slowly over the Atlantic coast as the humid air thickened above Bissau. Fishermen returning from the night waters felt something unusual in the stillness, an eerie calm, unbroken by the usual chatter of the port or the rumble of early taxis. Within an hour, the source of the tension revealed itself. Armored vehicles began rolling through the capital, their engines echoing off rusted rooftops and colonial-era walls. Rumors began spreading fast, first as nervous whispers, then as frantic declarations. The military has taken control. The president says he's been detained. Across the international press, headlines exploded. But inside the country, the truth felt more complicated, more tangled, more bitter. For behind this sudden power struggle lay years of manipulation, shadow interference, and geopolitical chess games stretching from West Africa to Europe. The military faction that seized key government buildings called itself the National Defense Stabilization Front, a small but well-trained splinter group once aligned with the African Union standby forces. Their leader, Colonel Jalo, a young, sharp-minded officer shaped by years of witnessing political betrayal, had grown disillusioned with the endless cycles of instability. He believed external interests had kept his nation weak, divided, and economically suffocated. He had watched how foreign influence, disguised as economic aid, drug policing, or institutional support, deepened internal fractures. Guinea-Bissau, he felt, had become a battlefield of invisible hands. The official government, however, saw the event as an assault on democracy. And when the president appeared in a shaky phone video declaring he had been detained by renegade forces, the world erupted into confusion. Hours after the video circulated, the streets of Bissau filled with citizens trying to understand what had happened. Mothers clasped children to their chests. Elders stood under mango trees speaking in heavy tones. Young people, weary of political instability, recorded every moment for social media. But deep beneath the surface, a different narrative was unfolding, one rooted in Pan-African awakening and resistance to external control. Colonel Jalo's first broadcast came through the state radio, seized minutes after troops secured the transmission center. His voice was calm, solemn, and controlled. "This is not a coup," he said. "This is a reclamation of national dignity." Guinea-Bissau has suffered decades of manipulation by foreign networks and internal collaborators who weakened our state. We take control today to protect our sovereignty and restore order. Within minutes, reactions thundered across the region. The ECOWAS Commission expressed deep concern, demanding immediate restoration of constitutional order. Yet citizens of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, nations that had recently shifted toward independent paths, watched with a different lens. Online platforms erupted with Pan-African solidarity slogans, arguing that West Africa was witnessing the birth of a new anti-neocolonial wave. But the situation inside Bissau was far more fragile than online debates could capture. While Colonel Jalo's forces held the capital, loyalist units controlled the airport and parts of the northern barracks. The possibility of armed confrontation hung over the city like a loaded storm cloud. Yet, strangely, no major battle erupted. Instead, power remained suspended in a gray zone. Neither side fully dominant, neither side willing to descend into civil war. By nightfall, candlelight flickered through the neighborhoods of Barrow Milita and Santa Luzia. Power cuts rolled across the city as military engineers secured communication hubs. The scent of grilled fish still rose from roadside stalls. Life continued, but every conversation circled back to the same question: who is really behind this? Older citizens recalled previous political crises, the ones shaped by intelligence operations, foreign pressure tactics, or covert military reshuffling. Younger citizens saw the moment as a test of destiny. Internationally, Western powers reacted sharply. Statements flooded from various foreign ministries condemning the military takeover. Yet behind closed doors, intelligence agencies scrambled at it as an existential threat. Thus, the spark of confrontation was born. As tension peaked, Colonel Jalo made a second national address. This time, he spoke not only to the nation but to the entire continent. Africa cannot rise while some of its states remain playgrounds for foreign agendas. The future will not be dictated by former powers who benefited from our division. Africa's destiny belongs to its people. His words reverberated across African social platforms, igniting a wave of commentary from scholars, activists, and youth leaders. Some praised him as a revolutionary. Others condemned him as a destabilizer. But inside Bissau, something unexpected began to happen. Civilian groups, community elders, religious leaders, student unions began forming local mediation committees. They demanded dialogue, not war. They issued statements calling for national unity. For the first time in years, rival political factions began speaking to each other with a shared concern: protecting the people. The grassroots movement shifted the entire energy of the crisis. Instead of collapsing into violence, Guinea-Bissau began moving toward a fragile but promising negotiation process. The president, still under military restriction, released a calmer message urging citizens not to panic. Though his voice was firm, there was a tone of weariness, an admission that the nation's fractures had grown too deep to ignore. The military responded by allowing humanitarian agencies to move freely, signaling they were not seeking chaos. By the third day, foreign journalists flooded the capital. The world watched closely, but for once, the narrative was not shaped solely by outside media. Pan-African commentators, West African strategists, and independent African news platforms began producing their own analyses, challenging dominant international interpretations. A new message was emerging across the continent. This crisis is not about seizing power. It is about the restructuring of African sovereignty. As negotiations deepened, an unprecedented outcome began forming. A transitional council combining civilian leaders, respected elders, and military representatives. Its goal would be national stabilization, anti-corruption reforms, and protection of mineral and maritime assets previously entangled in opaque foreign agreements. The idea electrified Pan-African audiences. The Western diplomatic circle, however, reacted with visible discomfort. A sovereign Guinea-Bissau, aligned with independent West African states, threatened long-established geopolitical interests. Yet even foreign pressure could not stop the momentum. Citizens held peaceful night gatherings in public squares, singing old liberation songs once used during the anti-colonial struggle. History felt alive again, echoing through the night air with a renewed sense of purpose. In the days that followed, something profound became clear. Guinea-Bissau was not collapsing. Guinea-Bissau was transforming. The military, instead of entrenching itself in power, signaled willingness to hand authority to a transitional unity administration. The president, recognizing the intensity of the public's demand for structural change, agreed to national reforms he had previously resisted. It marked the beginning of a new chapter, one rooted in Pan-African determination rather than foreign supervision. International powers attempted to influence the process, but civil society groups countered quickly, insisting that the future of the nation had to be shaped internally. For the first time in decades, Bissau felt a surge of patriotic energy that transcended political lines. A quiet revolution had begun, not one of gunfire or tanks, but of consciousness, of a nation discovering its voice after years of silence. Across West Africa, citizens from Dakar to Bamako to Ouagadougou celebrated the moment, calling it part of the new African sovereignty wave. The transformation of Guinea-Bissau became symbolic, a testament to a continent refusing to remain fragmented. And though the road ahead remained uncertain, one truth had crystallized. Africa was no longer waiting for permission to shape its destiny. Guinea-Bissau had erupted, not into chaos, but into awakening. And the world, stunned and unprepared, found itself witnessing the birth of a new geopolitical era. Night draped itself over Guinea-Bissau like a heavy curtain as foreign satellites repositioned to capture the unfolding crisis. In embassies across West Africa, diplomats huddled in dimly lit rooms, whispering about what the world was slowly realizing. This was not an isolated event. This was part of a wider continental shift, an awakening that threatened old geopolitical hierarchies. As the Transitional Council's discussions continued, the power struggle moved from the streets to the shadows. Intelligence agencies, some African, some European, some operating without official existence, began circling the crisis like vultures sensing opportunity. But this time, Africa was not alone. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, nations that had defied foreign pressure and regained significant sovereignty, activated discrete channels of communication with Guinea-Bissau's transitional leaders. Their message was simple but historic: stand firm. Africa is with you. Colonel Jallo received encrypted envoys over secure channels detailing how to protect national assets from foreign seizure attempts, how to withstand economic pressure tactics often used to destabilize newly shifting governments, and how to control the information war that was about to intensify. And indeed, the information war erupted with brutal speed. Foreign media outlets began pumping out headlines describing the national transition as a military hijacking, a threat to Western security, and the resurgence of extremist networks. But inside Guinea-Bissau, citizens recognized an all-too-familiar strategy, one used in Libya, in Congo, in Burkina Faso, and in Mali whenever African sovereignty clashed with foreign interests. The Transitional Council responded with surprising sophistication. Instead of countering through state television alone, they used social media live streams, citizen journalists, and local Pan-African channels. For the first time, the narrative battleground was not one-sided. As international pressure mounted, something even more unexpected occurred. Scores of young soldiers from loyalist units, previously aligned with the presidency, began switching sides. They were not coerced, they were inspired. Many had grown tired of watching foreign advisors dictate national policies behind closed doors. They had watched their parents struggle to survive while foreign companies drained the country's resources. They saw in the Transitional Council not power-hungry soldiers, but a rare opportunity, the chance to rebuild the nation from the ground up. Meanwhile, the president, who had initially demanded external intervention, began softening his stance. The reality of the situation became clearer with each hour. The people no longer supported any return to the old system. And the international community, despite its aggressive language, was hesitating. Global powers feared that forceful intervention would not only fail, it would trigger a Pan-African backlash unlike anything seen in modern history. As tension eased into negotiation, the Transitional Council proposed a groundbreaking national reform blueprint, a new constitution prioritizing transparency, economic independence measures, security restructuring free from foreign oversight, protection of fishing waters and mineral zones, a Pan-African alignment doctrine promoting sovereign partnerships. International observers were stunned. This was not the language of a desperate junta. This was the language of a rising state. And then came the unexpected spark that shifted everything. A leaked report revealed that certain foreign entities had been planning to seize control of offshore energy blocks under the guise of security cooperation. The document spread across Bissau like wildfire. Citizens erupted in outrage, not against the Transitional Council, but against decades of manipulation finally exposed. Foreign influence, once hidden behind polite diplomacy, had been dragged into the daylight. Mass demonstrations bloomed across the capital, but unlike before, they were peaceful, organized, and unified. Citizens demanded the Transitional Council proceed with national restructuring. They demanded sovereignty. They demanded dignity. Watching this from afar, the geopolitical community realized with dread Africa was no longer bending. By week's end, Guinea-Bissau had become a symbol, an emblem of resistance, solidarity, and rebirth. From Senegal to Ghana, from Tanzania to South Africa, Pan-African groups held rallies supporting the nation's transformation. The message was clear: if Guinea-Bissau rises, Africa rises. And thus, with the world watching, the Transitional Council prepared to unveil its roadmap, one that would trigger outrage in Western capitals and celebration across Pan-African circles. Guinea-Bissau was no longer erupting into chaos. It was erupting into destiny. A small West African nation had become the epicenter of a continental renaissance, and the world was struggling to understand the new reality. Africa was speaking. Africa was uniting. Africa was done being controlled, and nothing would ever be the same again.